So when we're factoring by grouping, you have to have 4 terms. Okay, why do I have to have 4? Because we're going to group them in pairs, which is why we've got colors. So here's how this works. We are going to put a set of parentheses around the first 2 terms. And we're going to put another set around the last 2 terms. Does not mean we're multiplying them all of a sudden. I know we think of parentheses as multiplying, but we're just going to put those around. And so what we're going to do once we've done that is we're going to work these out a pair at a time. So for the moment, I'm going to forget that 2x squared plus 8x, that's the only thing. I'm going to forget the red set of parentheses even exists. And we're going to go back and we're going to do what we've been doing for the past couple of days. We're going to go ahead and factor out the greatest common factor in the first set of terms. So if I need a reminder, the reminder is we take the biggest number that goes into both. So if I use my chart with 2 and 8, it would just be 2. And if both terms have a variable, they do, we take the one out that has the smallest exponent. And if it doesn't have an exponent, it's 1. That's about as small as it gets. So when we're doing that, again, it might be a good idea, and I'm going to do it. So we're going to take out the biggest number and the smallest, I got to change my term there, exponent. And that's only if all terms have a variable. Now, there's going to be some times that everything doesn't have a variable. And we'll see one of those here shortly in the red part. So when that happens, I can't take a variable out with it. Only when everything's got a variable. So we take out the 2, we take out a single x. Once we do that, just like it has been for the past couple of days, we're going to divide this in. So we're just looking and we're going, okay, 2 divided by 2 is 1. I can put the 1 here. I don't have to, because we assume it's going to be there. And 2 minus 1, because when we're dividing with exponents, we subtract. So I've got my x. And then I move to the next part. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And 1 minus 1 is 0. I do not need to put an x inside the parentheses with my 4. So you're like, okay, like we're doing the exact same thing we did yesterday. What's the point? You're about to see. Once we've got that factored, now we're going to switch roles. And we're going to do the same thing to the red set of parentheses. So what's the biggest number that goes into 3 and 12? 3. So I go through and I divide. 3 divided by 3 is 1, okay? I couldn't take an x out here because the 12 doesn't have an x. The only time I can is if both terms, like we said in the start, have a variable. So I take out 3 divided by 3 is 1x. What's 12 divided by 3? 4. Here's what we're looking for. When you get to the end, what I like to call your leftovers, your set of parentheses, has to be the same. If it's not the same, if a sign's different, if a number's different, we didn't factor something out right in the first part. But if these are the same, that's what we want. And now we're almost done. Because to write the answer now, you take that common set of parentheses, We write that down. And then the stuff that's outside the parentheses, we're going to pair those together. Okay? When we're doing these, the common set of parentheses is half of our answer. And then the two greatest common factors that we pulled out front, the 2x in the first one and the positive 3 in the second one. What's that? This one? You can put it in there if you want to. We assume there's a 1 there, so you don't have to put it. But if you do, it's absolutely fine. Good question. So that's going to be our thing here. Once you get to this step, and those are the same, I only need one of them. Notice I didn't write it twice. I know I see 2 of them, but we put the common one together, and then we put the greatest common factors that we had on the outside. We're going to put, and that's the end. We're factored. Because that's going to allow us then, if we need to solve like we're going to in the second one, excuse me, that we can do that. So everything's the same. First pair, parenthesis them up. Second pair, parenthesis them up. And play the same game. 5 and 10, biggest number in common is 5. They both have x's. So I can take out x. Again, x to the first. Same thing, we're good. And then divide. 5 divided by 5 is 1. If you want to put the 1, you can. If you just are like, it's 1, I don't care, that's fine. 2 minus 1 is 1. I'm going to put my 1 in here still. 10 divided by 5 is 2. But 1 minus 1 is 0, so I'm not going to have an x on this part. So I can always look at the end and say, hey, if I distributed this out, would I get this back? 5 times 1 is 5, yeah. 1 plus 1 is 2, okay. 5 times 2 is 10, yep. There's my x to the first. So now I have a clue. When I do the second one, that's what should end up in the parentheses, if I'm doing this right. Oh dear. All right. That's a good question. So if I look at this next part and I see negatives, should I pull out a negative with my 3? And my answer is typically yes. You're probably going to want to do that. Because if I don't, I think things are going to get messed up. So we're going to find out. So let's pull out negative 3. I know 3 goes in, but I see the negative there. So I look and I go, okay, negative 3 divided by negative 3, positive 1. X is still here. What's negative 6 divided by negative 3? Positive 2. Same thing. Now, let me just say one thing here quick before we go on. Let's just say when I did this negative 3x minus 6, let's say I'd have taken 3 out instead. And I'm like, negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1, negative 6. Those aren't the same, but here's where I want some of you to not go into panic if that happens to you sometime. If the only thing that's off is that the signs are opposite, positive and negative, all you have to do to fix it is bring a negative outside, which changes the signs of both of those. So if you were in that other situation, the minute you pull that negative out, these are both going to change every time. So it's not like it's going to be one or the other. Is that the question you were asking?
Like, how do I know, like, it's not first problem?
Oh, okay. So you could actually change either. So if you saw that like this one was -1 and -2, and you're like, well, why don't I just make this -1 and -2? You could pull a negative out of that one too, and it would still work. Yeah, that's the nice thing with this. There's a lot of flexibility that we've got. But once I get here, okay, reminder, the common set of parentheses, that's part of my answer. And then the two greatest common factors on the outside with their signs are going to be my other one. So positive 5x minus 3. And I'm there. Oh, that's right. I got more to do this time. I tried to stop. Okay, good call. Thank you. So since that equals 0 is there, I have one extra piece to the puzzle we got to do here. And that's I'm going to take each of my sets of parentheses and set them equal to 0. And again, if you want the 1 in front of the x, that's fine. The only reason I didn't put it there was when I look at this, I'm like, hey, if my goal is to get x alone, yeah, 1x, I'd still be in the same place. But here, I'm not going to be thinking, well, I have to divide both sides by 1. And I could. It's not going to change my answer. But once you get to the parentheses, we're back to first semester stuff. And yes, you can get decimal stuff, and that's okay. So my opposite of multiplying by 5 is just to divide. Oh, let's see here. 3 divided by 5. 0.6. I wouldn't even care if you left it as a fraction. So you're like, woof, duh. Pair them off, do these two problems, put it back together. Yeah, this one's a little more lengthy. But it does get us practice at everything we've been doing too, which is a nice thing. Okay. I'm going to keep this handy because we're going to roll into the practice here. Over to 7 and 8. I'm just looking to see what we got rolling here. So let's do the first couple together. Kind of see what's going on. You do have answers to match up with at the bottom. So if you want to check something at the end, that is going to be A-okay. Again, if you need a practice packet, they are on the back table, ready to go for you. So again, anytime we have grouping, we're going to deal with them a piece at a time. Kind of see how things are going. Okay. 15 and 20. And again, for some of you that may have been gone for a bit or something, they're like, where is this chart thing he keeps popping up here? At the back of your note packet, this is there. I just tore mine out because it was easier to see stuff. So 15 and 20, what's the biggest number that's in both boxes? 5. So we're going to get the 5 out of there. They both have a variable. So we take the one with the smaller exponent, which is x, or x to the first, if you want to go that route. And now the division game begins. 15 divided by 5. 2 minus 1. 20 divided by 5. 1 minus 1 is 0, so no x on the second term, just the 4. So I've got my little cheat code now. I know what the parentheses should be on the next one. So I start the game over again. I kind of move this up a bit, and I go, okay, let's see, 9 and 12. 3 looks like the winner. Well, now, I can look at my signs. If I see my signs and my signs are all positive, I don't even have to think about negative. The only time I'm going to do that is if I'm seeing lots of negatives. Okay, okay. And so now let's see if it worked. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Nothing to cancel out my x, so my x is still there. 12 divided by 3 is 4. They're the same. Whoop, whoop. And we're just factoring on this side. So again, take the common set, write one of them down. Take the stuff on the outside, our greatest common factors, tuck them together in the other set, and move on to the next piece. Again, as you get into a rhythm with this, it will get easier and faster as you're doing them. I'm going to take these off again. I don't know. All right, let's do our cover up here. Okay. What goes into 2 and 4? 2. And looks like we got an X again. Hardy, can you always take an X out of the first pair? Most of the time that's going to be true. I will not tell you otherwise. And now we're dividing. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. Negative 4, watch the signs. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. And 1 minus 1 is 0. I don't have any x's that I need. So I've got my preview of what that second one is going to look like. Now this is where life gets interesting. Because I look at this second set of parentheses and I'm like, well, 1 and 2, the only thing they have in common is 1. Take the 1 then. If nothing else is in common, we always can take 1 if that's the only thing. You'll always got to take something. You sure? Okay. Well, we'll check whatever one that is out next. And so I look and I go, okay, well, 1 divided by 1 is 1. The x is still here. Negative 2 divided by 1 is negative 2. Still ended up the same. But yeah, you always have to take something out. Because if you don't, that messes things up. And again, whether you put the 1 there in front of the x or just have it be x minus 2, makes no difference. Then those 2 on the outside. Get the other one. And we're off and running.
Wait, does it matter if we accidentally put the numbers like inside first? Or is that how it's
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, if you had the 2x plus 1 first and the 1x minus 2 second, that's absolutely fine. It's the exact same thing. Nope. Nope, as long as you got both sets of parentheses, the order of the sets does not matter. So that's, again, when we're just grouping, we keep playing those through, seeing how it works. Now, let's take it a little further. We're not going to go crazy here. What's that? Let's take a look at 3. Okay, let's see what's going on with 3. All right, let's check this out. Let's get
wait, never mind.
Oh. amazing when people run into their own problems. Just by saying them, and then like, wait, Hardy. Then it's like, oh, then we get there and we're good. When we get to the back, let's see here. Yeah, 8. 8 looks good because I see a possible problem. So let's see. And always when you're making parentheses, make sure you can still see all the signs of things because that can mess up things too if we get a little off here. Okay, where'd my little sticky note go? There we go. Okay. 6 and 4, what do we got in common? 2. And an X. You know the drill from here. You really do. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 2 minus 1, because that's what we do with exponents, is 1. Careful with your signs. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So we go to the red. We're like, okay, let's see here. 3 and 2. Looks like we're going to 1 again, and we are. So the next question normally comes with this, well, how do I know, because I see a plus and a minus, how do I know if this should be plus or minus? Typically, you're going to roll with the sign of whatever the first number is. If this would have been minus, I'd have probably pulled a minus. But since it's not, I'm going to try to go without doing it. Let's see what happens. 3 divided by 1 is 3. Still got my X. Negative 2 divided by 1 is negative 2. They're the same. I'm happy. So I can move this. There's my common set of parentheses. There's my greatest common factors together. But this time, since we've got the equals 0, we're going to be asked to take it one step further and actually take each of these sets of parentheses and solve them for x. So same process up until the very end here. And then we're just going to do our opposites and try to smash them in here because, again, Hardy writes too big. Oh, looks like it's fraction time. We'll round to the nearest hundredth. I don't want to put all them 6s. Again, as long as you take your time and make sure your opposites are being done to both sides of your equation. Opposite multiplies to divide. Ooh, two decimals in one problem. Okay. So those can get a little more sizable. But again, that's why there's not as many on the sheet, because it gives us more opportunity to kind of mess with things. And then the bottom, my gosh, you're getting to do all of these in what we were doing up top. Take out your factor, you're done, except you're just doing it with one term. Factor it out, set it equal to 0. It's basically less than what you're doing up above, which is nice every once in a while to have something that's a little bit less. But again, there's an answer key at the bottom. And if you need, back up we go.
I don't see that X at 0.67 on the answer. 0.7.
Oh, did I go to the nearest 10th? I went to the nearest 10th instead of the nearest 100th? Well, what the heck? Yeah, that negative 0.7 would be the 0.7 would be that 0.67. Looks like I went to tenths instead of... That, if you're rounding, would go to 0.7 because that 7's closer. It's above 5. That's one of those that if I saw work and somebody put 0.6 and somebody put 0.7 and somebody put 0.67, I'd take all of them because I'm going to be seeing what you're up to. If you still need the notes from the first couple of sections that we did, again, that's on Classroom. Let me get out of here and pop that up, and then I'll end this. Maybe. There we go. So there's the updated notes if you need them. Again, keys are online. You've got the mixed answers at the bottom. If I can be of assistance, I would love to. Let me know, and we'll take it from there.